It's Wellness Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday. And this Wellness Wednesday, I'm starting the friendship and dating videos. And I was originally going to do another video. And I started thinking about the idea and I came down this rabbit hole and I realized this topic we should really talk about before we get into some other topics. Because whether you are seeking out other people from a place of ego or whether you are seeking out somebody from a place of companionship is really going to affect your long-term success and, quite frankly, your happiness. Because if you go into relationships, platonic or romantic, or just straight up sexual, transactionally, you can't expect more than that from other people. And a lot of people, I think, don't think about that because they don't perspective take. They don't put themselves in the position of the other person. That if they're just willing to be used by you, well, they're going to be using you right back. And people end up getting very hurt because they think they can take it and they find out they can't. And so I'm going to attempt to avoid that pain for people in this video because it really starts with a concept I can't stand. The concept of hot. I have grown to hate hot. He's hot. She's hot. It's gotten to they're hot. I want to leave out my non-binary friends. But it's gotten to the point where every time, unless it's done ironically or as a joke, like hot, right? Clearly not serious. I feel my fucking IQ dropping every single time it goes there. I associate that with drunken bachelorette parties with male strippers and shit where people barely avoid throwing up in the limo. And I'm going to be very specific now. I associate hot with watching people puke on the driveway outside of the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas. That is my association. We won't get into that story today. But it's a stumbling block right at the beginning. And I'm going to get into why. Let's do the help support this channel. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Where you can do one-on-one stuff on these topics. Like dating is a big, big topic. Friendship is a big, big topic. Coffee.com/LeannaK if you want to donate a session. Or just like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. Those likes, those subscriptions help. And you don't have to spend any money because money's tight right now. And hot is about ego. It tends not to be about valuing someone as a whole person. And someone's like, I disagree. Okay, let's test it. Because is solving a conflict hot? Is listening to criticism hot? Okay, subs, like maybe you guys are right into this, cool. But again, that's about, the sub's always in charge. That's about your gratification, not the other person. I find it really interesting that the tsundere anime trope is so popular. And that's really interesting because I see a lot of guys, oh yeah, tsundere, so hot, all that stuff. And then real life, somebody like me who can run a bit cold or has boundaries and say, stop that. And they're like, bitch. It's one thing to see it in the safety of media. And that is not all people. That is just the people that do that. When you are watching a piece of media or you are playing a game, there is a sense of safety. There's this understanding that eventually the main character is the main character and that's going to matter. But fictional characters don't exist in the real world. Therefore, they don't have all the complications of real people. And hot tends to be a soothe. It tends to make you feel better as opposed to a more respectful engagement with people, which means you can have certain things that rub you the wrong way about someone, and having the maturity to recognize that may be no one's fault. It's just different perspectives. Hot has no boundaries. Hot has no complicating factors. It's just hot. And of course, the minute that hot person does something people don't like, then suddenly they're ugly. You're ugly. He's ugly. She's ugly. It's so immature. And that's the thing you have to keep in mind. If you're unironically part of the hot, ugly dichotomy, if it's just both extremes and nothing in between, you are telegraphing immaturity. You are telegraphing insecurity. You are telegraphing ego. And if you think, well, that's just who I am, well, okay, the only people who are going to show interest in you then are people that are either equally immature or looking to use you for something, who see your desperation and are looking to exploit it. Well, I don't care. Nobody's interested in me in any way. What does it matter? I mean, all right, but don't complain about it if you're not willing to change your language to attract a higher quality of person. And there is a difference between finding something attractive and hot, right? Finding intelligence attractive, cool. Finding particular, especially if it's a particular mannerism about a person that you have a relationship, you feel close to, when you get into a committed relationship, there are just certain things the other person does that are so very them, and so you find endearing, right? But you notice I'm not going, that's hot. It's endearing. It's a whole person approach. And this is not what the internet teaches. One of the things I find so frustrating about a lot of online communities is they let the, what I call keyboard stimming, the just spew in chats, just go totally unremarked and unregulated. And I find that very exploitative. Because, as somebody who does have a smallish community, but that I care about the, the dignity of people here. And I hear from guys who get, every insecurity out there gets poked by watching dating videos on YouTube where, women will say these things with confidence, the 666 and all that. That's what I'm talking about. Hot. It's not hot. He's hot. He's hot. I mean, think about what those women are basically saying. They're looking for a sex object with a wallet that gives them some sort of social status. There is absolutely nothing about common interests or common core values or common goals. And common core values, common interests, and common goals. Quite frankly, you can have totally different interests. There's this one couple I know, they are into totally different things, but they are very much on the same page on values-driven issues. And she does her thing, he does his thing, and that's fine. You can work around different interests. You can even discover, you're into similar things. I mean, my God, my husband and I are both nerds, but different types of nerd. Like, he's into more the 70s stuff. wasn't into video games at all. He only plays with me, but I was into more the 80s stuff, but now I'm into more the modern stuff. And I keep looking at Odorek. I think that's how it's pronounced. The claw lights from Death Stranding. They have these cool LED desk lamps, but I'm like, where the fuck am I gonna put that? I mean, but see, some people would insist that my background is not hot, that the way I dress is not hot, that I don't put enough effort into myself. And those are the moments where I'm like, why is anybody assuming that I am doing anything to please anybody but myself? But that really is the assumption, right? With all this stuff with hot, I'd fuck that. I said on the Discord this week, we live in an age where people think that nice tits, bitch, is a compliment. Like, no joke. I've had guys, not anymore, because now it's old bitch, fat bitch, ugly bitch. It's always something bitch, right? And what I hear, various musicians and things like that say that it's this word that just gets peppered into everything. And people have lost the connotation because like that bitch, my bitch, what's up bitches, like the attempts. I don't find attempts to reclaim words work. I accept, don't be afraid of words. I'll say I don't like the word bitch, but I don't go to pieces if people use it. And it's a great litmus test of somebody will say it and they go, I'm sorry you don't like that word. Like, that's consideration. That's appealing. And if you have no standards that way, right? If you exist solely for the approval of others, not only does anybody really get to know you, but you don't really know yourself and you end up like you don't feel like you fit in. And there's so many people who are so desperately afraid of being rejected out there because something about them somebody saw on the internet women don't find attractive. And it's like, for God's sake, the one I hear all the time is men in height. And I'm taller than my husband. Peter Dinklage is married. If Peter Dinklage can, but he's an actor. Well, exactly. I mean, Peter Dinklage is very charismatic, and that's really what it is. There is a big difference between saying someone is charming, someone is charismatic, someone is attractive, and hot, right? Like, attractive, charming, charismatic. This is describing a human. Hot is a fucking pizza pocket. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you think of hot, you think of something existing for the purpose of being a sex object. And I'm not just talking about women. It's everywhere with bloody men now, too. I am so sick of gratuitous male nudity and shirtlessness is nudity. But I'm interested in Peacemaker lately because I do think that they're using the fact that Peacemaker literally has his ass hanging out a lot of the time. I think that's actually a metaphor. I don't think that's just, hey, let's see John Cena's butt. I do think that's sort of a character point because, yes, he does have his ass hanging out most of the time. And being prudish about it, thinking nudity is always tawdry, is no better than needing that hypersexualization to think something is hot. There's a whole person about, and you notice I'm doing hat. I'm doing like a Yankee accent kind of thing because it's not hot, it's hat. It's your IQ, like your IQ just drops. It is inherently crass. And so I disagree. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. Do an experiment with me. Think about someone that you would consider hot, right? It's usually kind of basic Becky model or basic Brandon model, that freaking swoopy hair. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters got me thinking about this a lot because they parody the aesthetic of idols and boy bands and that kind of stuff. And I mean, the ab guy, I was so with Mira when she was punching that, going, I hate abs, because I am so at that point. I'm so sick of the guy like lifting the shirt up. It's like, keep your damn clothes on, boy. First of all, you are young. Because like not only are you much younger than me, but you have the sugar face thing going on, which means you read even younger. Like, please just sing. Please just dance. Keep your shirt on. Like, seriously. And other people may like that. Fine. Yes, that's where the money is. But I guess because I did do pinup modeling, I did art modeling, and then I did like the men's magazine stuff. And even though pinup modeling, art modeling, and the men's magazine stuff involve similar amounts of undress, the purpose of those three things is very, very different. And that men's magazine, very trashy, samey, rub baby oil everywhere, seem to have wet hair, that kind of shit. Like, that's hot. Pinup is an aesthetic. There's an innocence. There's the, oh, you caught something you weren't supposed to see. That's why it's all, surprise Pikachu face. It isn't going, I'm going to put my finger in your mouth and you're going to make something like, it's so ridiculous and artificial and quite frankly craven and exploitative for everybody involved, because it's just so base, it's easy, and therefore it's cheap. And that doesn't mean there isn't good money in it. And I don't, no shade on the women. It's a marketing tool. But that's the thing you have to keep in mind. It's a marketing tool. Whereas art modeling, yes, you don't wear much. And part of it is because the way you pose is not designed to eliminate every role on the body. Quite the opposite. Drawing the skin folds, drawing foreshortening, drawing interesting hand positions, feet. That's the point of it. And that, when you get more and more and more into metaphor and expression and things like that, that's where true beauty lies. The tangible details, the uniqueness, the quirks, idiosyncrasies. I'll even go with imperfections, because if everybody just looked the damn same, it would be a very boring world. And it's amazing to me how many people, go for the hot guy or the hot girl and then complain that their superficial, not very nice treated them terribly and dumped them for a better deal. Of course they were going to. That's all transactional. That's their ticket. People who look that way, they spend their entire life looking that way. Again, I say this as a former model. You have to have everything revolving around the regimen to be able to, be camera ready. And there's a certain amount of genetics too, because I don't know how those like Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret models get in a plane and model that day or the next day. Like, oh my God, I need 2 days to, well, okay, I know how they do it. Drugs, a shit ton of diuretics and things like that, because you swell up on planes and it takes time for all of that to flush out of the body. And so, yes, they cheated. But what does that cause? Mood swings, irritability, emotional dysregulation. Why are we pushing that as a beauty standard? And I'm watching more and more like British and European TV, and it's so interesting to me that actors and actresses there, you're kind of surprised when someone's too attractive. And the really shiny people in British TV tend to kind of be code for sus. When an actor is interesting looking, unique, and charismatic, that tends to be the sweet spot there. But, you only hear people refer to each other as hot in kind of farcical, comedic, or tawdry moments. I mean, yes, the Brits are very bent about sex. There are hardly paragons there, but there's this different aesthetic. And then you go into, French or Belgium or German stuff, Swedish, the film festival, the Toronto International Film Festival is happening right now. You see the difference. You see the different standards. It is only the sort of North American Hollywood vortex where this idea of hot with like filler and that, I mean, if people want that artificial looking like Kim Kardashian waist, hey, great. It's your money. But I mean, liposuction is very painful and the recovery time is very long. And I always find it interesting that people who are like hot are on anonymous social media accounts with fake names and, cartoon icons. And I've always noticed that, if this kind of physical attractiveness is so important and people feel license to judge people that way, why don't you get into the arena, huh? Like, why don't you submit yourself to those sorts of judgments? Oh, because it doesn't feel good, does it? Because you don't think you can compete that way, right? Well, if you value it so much, why aren't you stepping up? Well, that's when it comes down to, oh, but I'm smart. I'm not a slut. I'm not a whore, right? We get into how toxic hot is. I mean, the whole the ongoing Britney Spears saga is an indication, sexualizing a teenage girl too much, too young. She has clearly never come out of it because unlike other performers, I mean, Lady Gaga is, styling for where she is in life much better. For instance, Britney Spears is still trying to look the same way she did when she was 20 years old. And quite frankly, it's tragic. You are more than that. I mean, the best part of being an old, ugly, barren woman is you can go, oh, fuck off. It's amazing how freeing it is to not worry about that shit. But I do think that, this romantasy trend with the ridiculous looking, throwbacks to Harlequin romance novel, morally gray protagonist is no better. Like, it's just treating men just as badly as women have been treated in the media for quite some time. And it's not fostering healthy relationships. It isn't powerful. And, the proof there is precisely that if someone is fixated on judging people's looks or judging people at all, quite frankly, and they don't have the confidence or the security to be judged by the same standard, that is ultimately destroying them from within. They are telegraphing that they think they're worthless. And not every person who goes anonymously online it's because they think they're, horribly unattractive. Some people do it because they've got jobs that, quite frankly, don't provide them a life. But, there is this, if you're judging other people by a standard to which you don't measure up, that's communicating a lot. And I find that these are the very people that find every excuse in the world not to risk rejection and judgments by other people. And I do think that it's healthier to really be honest about what you find attractive. And part of being honest about that is it isn't about looks per se. I mean, we were talking about Dragon Age Origins on the server the other day, and how it's like, dreamy love interest characters peaked in Dragon Age Origins, right? Like Alistair just was the last time any relationship in a Dragon Age game was healthy. And even then, even then there was toxicity there. But the graphics were not great. The sex scenes were ridiculous. Like, embarrassingly hokey. And that music, I said that every time to this day I hear that music, I giggle, kind of like, oh my God. I remember the first time, it's like, I didn't expect there to be like some sex scene. I'm like, what am I watching? I wasn't prepared. This is so cheesy. And maybe that was part of the point. I don't know. But in Dragon Age 2, they faded to black, and I much preferred that. Because let's face it, what we get out of these games is not physical gratification. And that's what I don't like, the way it's going. As of Inquisition, it was all just, rough sex, Oxman daddy shit. Which, the Iron Bull, the longer that game went on, bless Freddie Prinze Jr., but that character's disgusting. The only character who remotely had some substance to it of the men was Cullen. And, okay, you can romance Solus, but Solus is in his own category. Like, he's a major lore character. That's interesting. But, I mean, Cole had more going on than Blackwall, or what was the other... I forget. Dorian just put me more and more off too. He was just whiny, and where they went with him. I mean, oh no, I'm so oppressed in Minrathis, and then you see him in Veilguard, and he's fine. So, I mean, yeah, your dad sucks, dude. The world's ending. But that was the writer putting a lot of himself in a game that is aged poorly because it was part of that time where everyone was, look at me and my drama. But I mean, I'm trying to think, to me, the sexiest woman in that game is Cassandra, because she has a fucking personality. And that was when people went, she's ugly. And folks, that is not attractive. And I think we have to start saying that. The most attractive qualities in a person, the most lasting qualities in a person are character and a good nature and a strong will, right? And that doesn't mean you can't be a nice person, but you need to have boundaries. No boundaries, really unattractive. And this is something that will grow and improve as you get older. And I'm not saying you have to be like totally like no physical stimulation at all. Of course, that's an element of it. But I really do think it's healthier if we start admitting, especially in gaming, that there is a larger legitimate spectrum of what people find attractive. And that does include, BBWs. It does include muscular women. I mean, it's nobody freaked out about Vi from Arcane. And because it didn't seem like Vi was rubbing our faces in a point, the way Abby was from The Last of Us 2. And even Abby, by regular people standards, is not unattractive. There's an uncanny valley element to those characters because he was literally putting one woman's head on another woman's body. It just reads to the brain strangely. You look at a game like Death Stranding, both Death Stranding games, the people, because they're based on real people and they're not all models, they're not all actors, they're artists and Kojima's friends, and there's so many different looks in that game, and everybody is so interesting. I mean, I'm thrilled every time Deborah Wilson is in something because she has such expressive eyes. And it's nice to see people appreciating that. I remember having a discussion with an artist at Ubisoft, this is years ago, about tangible details in female characters. And I remember saying it was, I said, wow, you actually bothered to give her an interesting face. Like, she looks like she'd be part of a crack CIA team or something like that. And he's like, I'm glad you said that because I really believe in unique, tangible features. All women shouldn't look the same. What's attractive is something unique. And you see that attitude in photographers and, artists that, really, really are interested in their craft. People who really seek the sublime aren't focused on the factory farm beauty that is hot. And I really think if everyone just calmed the fuck down and stopped thinking that every time somebody puts someone in a game that, especially a woman, that is objectively attractive by any standard that isn't this stupid media one, but because people think it's some plot against them, they start going, she's ugly. That behavior is ugly. And I don't know why anybody's calling this out. This behavior, this hot, ugly, it is ugly behavior. It is crass and it is juvenile and it is unattractive. And that's exactly why people like me feel are IQ dropping about it. And most people just don't say anything because they don't want to be a bitch. What's wrong with you? Why are you so sensitive? It's not that I'm sensitive. A big part of my problem is I think if I was more sensitive, I'd probably be doing better. What it is I don't like stupid. It causes me physical pain when things feel like a waste of time. And yet another anime character who's just put a bunch of features in a blender at this point, outside of some franchises like, Classic Trails in the Sky, where they really thought of the tangible details, like, Estelle's cowlick, or whatever they call it in Japan. But they're so dime a dozen. It's so hard to tell them apart. It's just random character generated, but it's so similar. And it's boring. And I don't like boring and people with an ounce of confidence themselves, an ounce of dignity. They don't like boring either. And I really think that if more regular people, but also creators, just, like the creator of Bayonetta was like, no, there's no agenda here. It's just women with glasses are attractive. And I mean, that's when I feel in my soul, because people are like, why do you wear glasses? Why do you wear glasses? You'd be so pretty without them. It's like, well, gee, because I can't find contact lenses where my eyes aren't watering constantly, because my eyes are shit and are very light sensitive. And, do I want my makeup running down my face? Like, the black tears in Death Stranding or Wednesday? Like, no, thanks. I like my glasses. Fuck off. And that kind of unsolicited commentary. I wear contacts occasionally. Can't read with them in. But, I do it occasionally for fun, mostly for cosplay. But I don't even like the vibe of cosplay these days anymore either, because it used to just be about expression, and now it's about, oh, you've got to be careful of the race of the character you're cosplaying, because Wednesday Addams is now Latina coded. And I'm sorry, if a Chinese girl wants to cosplay Wednesday Addams, if, some run-of-the-mill white goth chick wants to cosplay Wednesday Addams, I don't see a problem with that. It doesn't do anything about the underlying problems of the hot, ugly crowd really having a bias against black and brown women. Except for Indira Varma, apparently, which makes me happy. But holy shit, like, we can do better. And I'm not advocating you back away from hot because it's good person points. I'm advocating stepping away from that. Joke around if you want, but I'm talking serious. Who's got hot? She's hot. I want a woman who's hot. You are not helping yourself. That is a race to the bottom. You are repelling quality people. You are outing yourself as a goddamn ignoramus. And it's not really honest. When people are really honest about what they find attractive, let's face it, it's like hyena ladies and lion dudes, and like, it's way more broad than the hot crowd makes it out to be. And when people are forcing normality on other people, I question what they're hiding, because that to me is a mark of insecurity. So I'm sure this will change no minds, but hopefully it will make people who have similar concerns and think you have to be like drop dead gorgeous, everything perfect 666 to find anybody to care about you. Quite the opposite. Conventionally attractive people are some of the loneliest people I've ever met, because they're just hot. They're not people. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Or like and subscribe to this channel if you like this content and want to support me and spend no money. That helps out a lot. Thanks for watching and be well.